Good evening, class. This is Mr. Lowe with lesson 5.4. That is 2 rules for finding equivalent fractions. So today we are spending the majority of our time working with something we've already done before, but I'm not sure if you guys knew you were finding equivalent fractions. So let's review very quickly. We're going to take a look at our fraction wall. And we looked at this the other day. And we said that, okay, I know that this entire piece up here is my whole. This section right here from these two together equals a half. This is a third, a fourth, a fifth, and so on. I said these green lines are just drawn to show you where 1/2 is, where 3/4, and where 1/4. So this breaks up my piece into fourths. So I could take a look at these fractions and say, okay, well, if I'm trying to figure out what fraction is equivalent to 2/3, what I need to do now is to drag my other fraction bars over to where they equal this line right here, 2/3. So I can see right away it's going to be in the sixth. And when I drag that over, I get 1/6, 2/6, 3/6, and 4/6 is equivalent to 2/3. They are the exact same length. This yellow bar is the exact same length as this 1/6 bar. I could also keep scrolling down and looking down and saying, okay, well, here's a line on the 12ths, and I drag my 12th bar over. I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's make sure I got that right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 twelfths is also going to be equivalent to 2/3, which will also be equivalent to, or 2/3, which will also be equivalent to 4/6. So as we go through these fractions, that's kind of what we're going to end up doing today. I want to show you 2 other easy ways to demonstrate equivalent fractions. So this is going to be a very quick video, but I think you guys will be okay. So I have a board. On my board I have a rectangle that I've split already up into thirds. So if I'm going to take this, I know that I split this up into thirds. So here's 1/3, here's 1/3, and here's 1/3. Now I want to shave in 2 of those thirds, and I want to find an equivalent fraction for what 2/3 is. So let's take a look. Let's go get my paint bucket now. And we will shade in 2 of those thirds. So there's 1/3 that's shaded in. There's 2/3 that are shaded in. Now, what you can do, again, if you could draw pictures with this, what we want to do now is take this entire piece, and I want to break it up. I want to cut each rectangle in half using a straight edge. So let me go grab my straight line tool, which is right here. And I'm going to go select, I don't know, where I think half is, and I'll use maybe the red color to make sure that I can get my pen the way I want it to. We'll say right about here is where 1/2 is. So if I cut that rectangle in half, essentially what I have done is I have now created 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces, and in these 6 pieces, 1, 2, 3, and 4 of those 6 are now shaded. So that leads me to this concept. 2/3 is equivalent or equal to 4/6. They are the exact same fraction, just broken up into different pieces. We could do that with a lot of different ones. So again, drawing pictures, breaking up into pieces is going to be very helpful. We could do that again. Let's try this. Whoops, didn't want to do that. Let's try this. If we kind of undo everything and erase this here, and let's erase this here, and I think we can get rid of this line. Whoops. We'll get rid of that line. I'll just move it out of the way, throw it in the trash can. And now let's paint those back in white. I know I'm doing this in a very backwards way. But what we could do now, instead of breaking it up into halves, if I shade those same 2/3, there we go. And instead of breaking it up into halves this time, well, now I want to break it up into thirds. So I want to draw a line that's going to go right here. And I want to draw another line that's going to go about there. So now what I have is a fraction that I originally started with. 2/3 is equivalent to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Now, how many holes, how many total pieces are there in that object? There are 9, so it's 6/9. So again, an easy way to talk about equivalent fractions. Let me show you even an easier way, and the next way is going to be with 2 different rules that we have for coming up with equivalent fractions. So this is where you want to be taking your notes, because these are the rules that you're going to use. Okay? First rule is this one. It's called the multiplication rule. And essentially, what it means is this. To find an equivalent fraction, all I need to do is multiply the numerator and denominator by the same number. So if I have a fraction 1/4, to find an equivalent fraction, all I have to do is take the numerator and denominator and multiply it by the same exact number. Let's say I want that number to be 2. So I'm going to go times 2 to my numerator, times 2 to my denominator, and I get 1 times 2 equals 2. 4 times 2 equals 8. So 1/4 is equivalent to 2/8. It is that simple. And you can use any number you want right there, as long as you are using the same number for your numerator and your denominator. Let's try another example. Let's do 5/6 this time. That'll be a little more exciting. Let's do 5/6. Now I want to find an equivalent fraction for 5/6. Essentially, what you are doing is taking this fraction, we are timesing it by, let's do 3/3, where I multiply my numerator times 3. 5 times 3 is 15. And I multiply my denominator by 3. 6 times 3 is 18. So 15/18 equals 5/6. It's really, really that simple. Now, let's erase that, and we'll go to the rule number 2. Rule number 2, if the first rule was the multiplication rule, the second rule we are going to use is our division rule. And this is another way of finding fractions. This is to find equivalent fractions. All you need to do is divide the numerator and denominator of the fraction by the same number. So, for example, you will use the division rule when your numerator and your denominator are fairly large. If we were to have 12/24 as my fraction, and I will need to find a equivalent fraction, I could multiply it by 2/2 and get 24/48. But what we also can do is divide this fraction by 2/2. I'm using the same numerator, the same denominator. So 12 divided by 2 is 6. 24 divided by 2 is 12. And I get an equivalent fraction of 6/12. We could have also, if we have 12/24, we could have picked a different number. Let's say now, instead of dividing by 12 or dividing by 2, well, maybe I look at this and say, oh, I know 12 goes into 24, so I can divide both of these numbers by 12/12. And now my equivalent fraction is 12 divided by 12 is 1. 24 divided by 12 is 2. So 1/2 and 12/24 are what we would call equivalent fractions. You're going to use this division rule to help with finding equivalent fractions when we are reducing fractions to lowest terms. That, boys and girls, essentially is your video demonstration and your video lesson for today. So when you come into class tomorrow, after you finish lesson 4.4 or 5.4, you're going to go ahead and watch a video for 5.5. When you're done watching this video, you can start in your math journal. You'll notice it starts on page 134. And you'll notice the first page deals with those drawings, the fraction number models. These would be considered fraction sticks right here. This one's broken up into 7 equal pieces. 3 of those pieces are shaded. They then divide this by half, which is the same thing as this is where we did yesterday, or in the second part of the video. Multiply by 2, and we get 3 times 2 is 6. 7 times 2 is 14. So see how that all works? So you're going to work on 134. And on 135, we get into both of those rules. The top part of 135 is our multiplication rule. The bottom part of our 135 is our division rule. Very, very easy lesson for today. And when you're done with that, you have a set of math boxes you can work on. So I hope you guys enjoy. You want to pay attention to this one because you are going to have a quiz that's going to be very, very similar to that particular problem. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a good night, and make sure you come in tomorrow with your POWs done.